Hello friends, it's your favorite neighborhood nerd Simone, and I'm here today to compare some inks because I've been getting inks that I like, but I'm seeing a trend that they're basically always the same. Look at this. They look so similar. I mean, if I look at them closer, I can see differences, but I also thought maybe you're as curious as I on how different they actually are. And so I thought I would do a little comparison of some of the inks. I'm actually thinking to just compare all 6 of those. This one is the newest. This one is the Lamy Sepia. I was going to say limited edition 2025, but I'm not really sure if it's a limited edition or if this is an addition to their regular lineup that they introduced this year. So that would need to be researched. So this is the ink that I have brought into my bottled ink collection. And because this ink is very affordable, as are Diamine inks and Pelikan actually. However, the others not so much. And I wanted to put a big blob of this ink down and then see how the others compare, and you can decide for yourself if you want to bring this into your lineup or any of the others, if this is enough for you. So I need to pick, I already have, I don't think Umemurasaki, let's bring this up to closer to the camera, are as close as they look, but I thought I would compare Pelikan 4001 Brilliant Brown with this. Maybe that's even a bad idea, but you can see this is more pink leaning than this. Is that even visible? You know what? I'm just going to pull it out and we can check, and I'm going to leave out Pelikan Brilliant Brown because I think that one. Now, the writing though, maybe I should leave it out here. There's more colors that are similar than I thought they would be. I'm going to bring out the Umemurasaki as well, just because. So I have Deep Dark Orange from Diamine and Cult Pens. This is not as easily accessible in the United States unless you order from Cult Pens directly. This is Ancient Copper, which if you just compare these dots on the top here, is fairly close to Deep Dark Orange. Then we have Old Book Smell, which is a red leaning, a wine red maybe. That's a good call for this color. Same as Sailor Shikiori Okuyama, which I believe these are quite expensive. This one I think has, how much? I should probably look it up. Why does it not say the milliliter here? 50 milliliters. This only has 20, so this is probably more expensive. You know what? I will go and do that because I'm curious about it. Only took ages, but I am here to finally start. And the tools that I am using, let me just open this really quickly. Oh, wow. We are already officially making a mess. There is ink on my fingers, and I am just going to take my rag here. So I am using a pipette, this awesome acrylic piece called Swink that my friend Wendy Sue from Fountain Pen News, Wendy Sue Fountain Pen News made for me, which is awesome. I love using it, and I especially love this one because it's clear and I can see through. And then I'm going to use my brass Kakimori dip nib that is in a Tachikawa nib holder. And then here I have a glass of water. I'm gonna put this right up there. Nope, I'm gonna move things around because I need this right over there. So, and I am just going to pull up some ink, drip it right on here, and then rinse my pipette. Use my Swinky Dinky here. And just make this really big splotch. I am currently debating whether I should pull out my teeny tiny ink swatch folder to swatch these inks in there if they're not already there, or if I should do that after. But I think because I already have the ink on here. Hold, please. This is where it already gets complicated. Now, is this a red-orange? Because technically, brown is various different shades of yellow and red, right? So should I put this in here or should I put it in here? Ancient Copper is already here and Diamine Deep Dark Orange is already here. So maybe that's where I'm gonna go, but also it's kind of a brown because it's called sepia. I think what I'm going to do is just simply swatch it in both places and make it complicated again. So that's what's going to happen, I think, next to the, do you want to see this? How long is this video going to be? Too long already. Which also means I need to pull out another swatching tool because oh my gosh, am I prepared for this video? No. The tip nib that I'm using for this notebook is the Iro Utsushi, and I'll need to grab it. I normally use this just to write ink names because it doesn't hold a lot of ink at all. So, Lamy Sepia. However, I think what I'm going to do for sure on this video is just do some downstrokes with this nib until it runs out, because I think besides the fact that you can't really use this for a longer writing session, I am proving myself wrong here. This is the closest to see what the ink would look like in a fountain pen. That is not what I have the experience with the brass nib. That is definitely always broader than I would like to see it. It's fabulous for writing bolder titles like so. How do we like this? Does it look like children? Yep, it does. So, Lamy Sepia. Let me grab my paper again. I checked the Atlas Stationer's website for those inks that are available from Atlas and are not exclusives on April 12th or so, 2025. And Lamy Sepia is a 50 ml bottle, and the price on their site is $12. This is all in USD, and that makes it a 0.24 per milliliter price, which I think is pretty awesome. This is what I'm comparing all of the other inks to. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's cool. And then you can decide for yourself when you're watching this video if you think you want to add Lamy Sepia to your stash. I think it's definitely a great ink. I'm also wanting to add this on there. I also think it's a great ink if you don't have any of the other inks, because it definitely is a good price. This is one of the cheapest options that you can get here. I always love to compare how these look in reality and the swatch that the maker puts on there. I do not keep track of the ink samples that I own. I think I'm gonna put Deep Dark Orange and Ancient Copper down here because I think these are the closest in contenders to this whole shebang. I have decided for my own sanity that I do not keep track of my ink samples any longer, and so I won't be able to include those in these videos because I just don't know which inks I have, which inks I don't have, and so I am just comparing my bottled collection. And I'm already overwhelmed by the amount of things that I'm doing, so maybe that is not a good idea to do. Definitely redder. I can see that right from the start. This I don't like, totally not. I don't know, this is such a lovely color. So this is the cheapest. It comes in 80 milliliters and 30 milliliters because most of these bottles are quite heavy. Most of them are 40, 50 milliliters. I decided to compare the 80 milliliter bottle, and that is coming out to $9.35 from Cult Pens. This is the only place where you can buy it. So that makes it 11 per milliliter. However, I am in the US and I do not know what the tariffs will do with an order from Cult Pens, because I'm pretty sure that all of these things are going to be given down to the consumer. And I also don't know how much shipping is from colored pens. So you have to calculate the shipping into this price. I know that they do have free shipping and such, and they have like offers that would make this even cheaper. However, as I said, then you would probably buy more inks to reach the free shipping threshold. And that might also make it less attractive to you. So it's not a let me just buy this specific ink and get it and then call it done. See, this is what is weird. Diamine, deep, dark, orange. Especially if I look over here, I can see that they're not as close as you might think. This is definitely brown. This is a deep dark orange for sure. Now let's see ancient copper. I need to, especially with those inks that I've had in my stash for a while, I want to make sure that I don't see any fuzzies in there, because I just had a bad experience with an ink sample. Luckily, it was only a sample. Okay. All right, so I've been looking forward to doing something like this for a long time. I probably shouldn't have pulled this out and just gone with this swatching here, because I'm already like, you know, overwhelming myself because did you just see that? I dumped ink onto my pants and onto my chair and onto the table, and it's getting wet. Oh my gosh, I'll be back. Wow. My phone buzzed. It's time to stand up. Yeah, okay, for sure. Oh my goodness. Really? So there is not a lot of ink on here because there's not a lot of ink left in this bottle. Oh my God. People, why? And why is this so light? Oh, now I'm spilling it all over onto this paper right here. There we go. So, of course, I spilled it right onto my pants and right between my legs. And this color is very cool to have spilled right between your legs. So I am probably, after this video, going to wash my pants and try to see how I can clean my chair. And if that is not going to work, I might have to get a new pair of shorts. So, ancient copper in the United States at Atlas Stationers, the 80 milliliter bottle, you can easily compare the price, is about double the price. It's 17, almost, not quite. And so this is 0.21 per milliliter. What I'm finding when I'm comparing these, you can see how broad the stroke was from the brass nib compared to here, and it seems like the sepia ink is much wetter than the Diamine Ancient Copper, which I find very surprising because I usually have a really good experience when I put Ancient Copper into my pens. That means that Lamy Sepia is even wetter than Ancient Copper. Diamine. But I would love to hear your experiences with these inks. Do you find Ancient Copper to be overly wet, regular, on the dry side? How does it flow in your pens when you use it? So when I'm comparing the writing here, I definitely see that there is red in here and there is more brown. There's a green sheen on top of here that is not present here. I do think though, especially when I look at the sticks here and the sticks over there, that they are similar for sure. However, actually, wow, 8 milliliter? Not really, 8T. See the 0? The Ancient Copper is cheaper than Lamy Sepia per milliliter. However, a good buying decision could also be that you decide, nope, this is not for me. And I don't think that 80 milliliter is the right thing to go for. However, you could buy Ancient Copper in a 30 milliliter bottle like I did, and then spill it onto your pillow, onto your chair, which is of course has a seat cushion on it. Yeah, well. All right, Pelikan brown. I think this I should not put into the bunch of the red oranges because I think Pelikan Brilliant Brown is more. Wow, I think this color changes over time because the first time that I used this, it was much more orange than this. And I hear so many people complain about how orangey Brilliant Brown is, but this is definitely a brown color to me. What do you think? Tell me in the comments down below, because I want to hear what you have to say. No gunk in this one either. Okay, I am just going to leave it like this. Oh no, maybe I can just do like sun rays. I want to put something around the circle, but these wavy things, the squiggly lines, I don't like them. They just look like I'm not capable of making squiggly lines. So, okay, this is Pelikan. $4001 Brilliant Brown. This comes in a 30 milliliter bottle. The price at Atlas Stationers is $11. And that makes it come to 0.36 per milliliter. Let me dip this one more time so that we can see the broader strokes. I'm like, I really am at a loss for words. Maybe I have a different formula, like maybe they changed their ingredients just like Lamy did with, what was it called? The purple, that thing. Lamy, was it? No, it wasn't lilac. The one that came out last year in 2024. Pelikan. Brilliant brown. Was it Lamy? Dark Lilac. There we are. Lamy Dark Lilac was an ink that had an ingredients change, and so it looks different now than the original formulation. And maybe Pelikan did something else, because I think I got my bottle from Amazon, and who knows how old that bottle was. Would it say anywhere when it was produced? Probably. There would probably be an indicator on there. That is odd. Super odd. This is so different to what I expected it to look like. And I feel also like, of course this is different paper. Look at this. Yeah, did I put this in this binder too, in a different color, maybe yellow? You know, or orange. Yellow, orange. Nope. Nope. Was it in here before? Did I swatch it in here? No, I did not. I am confused. But so this is browner than this. This leans more red, as we can see. Let's move on to the next color. I want to put Okuyama and Ume Murasaki next to each other because I think these are the most far off. So let's check and see what Robert Oster Old Book Smell has to say. This is an ink that is an Endless Pens exclusive, Robert Oster ink, that was made in collaboration with Micah Fines. Now, I think this is very red. Let me see if I have this right here. Nope. Cherry Sunburst. Did I swatch it in here already? Red. Let's see. Old Book Smell, yeah. Manyo Ume. It's probably closer to those. No. We'll see. Let's just do it. I also bought Lamy Petrol, which is one of those colors that I have a ton of ink bottles too. So I think what I'm going to do is over the next few weeks, months, however, whenever I feel like I wanna do this, I will share one of those comparisons with you, just because I want to play with ink, basically. I mean, yes, it's different, but if I'm looking at this one, well, it's not the same as Pelikan Brilliant Brown at all. We already knew that. But if I compare it with Lamy Sepia, it's not that far off, not too far off. So I can totally see how I would want to compare it with it. But also, it's more red. So this is Robert Oster. This is one of the inks that I absolutely regret buying. I completely was caught by the FOMO, fear of missing out bug. Old book smell. I was fairly new to the fountain pen and ink hobby, and I was just so enamored with these colors, and there's nothing wrong with them, not at all. However, this comes in a 50 milliliter ink bottle. It is only available at Endless Pens. The price at Endless Pens is $18. And so this will cost you 0.36 per milliliter. And those colors, the thing was that those were all only available at Endless Pens. I bought the whole bundle. And then later on, when I was more into fountain pens and more into inks, first of all, I didn't need a bottle of every single one of those inks. And there are so many other inks that are so similar to those that I did not need to buy into the exclusivity. I did not need to buy into buying a full bottle. I could have gotten a sample, which Endless Pens does not sell. And that, of course, made it super expensive. That was the very first time that I spent $100 on inks. Old book smell. And those inks did not make me $100 happy. I think that is the best thing that came out of this is that I learned, it's not worth it. And I'm really, yes, I am sometimes falling for these more expensive inks here, like Sailor Shikiori Okuyama or the Taccia Umemurasaki. They are both, you will see it when we get there. They're both expensive inks for what they are. I would say that both of them, well, all of them aren't flat. I was just going to say these have some character that the others don't. And that is true to some extent, for sure. They are very, they have something to them that the others don't necessarily have. So this is red. Let me see if I have that in my binder. No. I would call this a wine red. Let me take the brown aside because that is done. And then let's swatch it. None of these are flat. They all shade. Well, this one is almost so wet that you can't see the shading. Yeah, this is so red and there's some pink undertones. So yes, this ink is maybe more complex than the other ones and maybe the price is justified. The question often remains, is all of this visible in a pen? If you are making art with this ink, I would say that yes, the more complex, the more interesting your especially abstract art is going to be. Maybe if you wanted it to be realistic, the complexion of the ink, the complexity of the ink isn't even that important to you, and it might deter from what you want to do. Because what if the ink splits apart into blue and orange and purple, and you were going to paint an apple and you don't need the blue in there? Then it's weird. But also, especially when it comes to the arty abstract art, can't be complex enough, to be honest. Shikiori. Okuyama. So, Okuyama is 20 milliliter per bottle. It is available. All of those, I was very intrigued and surprised. So if you were to place an order for inks, Atlas might be, especially if you're not going for samples. Samples, I would always recommend Van Ness because they have the most amazing collection of inks. But Van Ness does not carry Sailor, I believe. And so that is not, you won't be able to get it at their place. But all of those other ones that are not exclusive inks, Lamy Sepia, Pelikan Brilliant Brown, Diamine Ancient Copper, Sailor Shikiori Okuyama, and then Ume Murasaki from Taccia, they were all available from Atlas, which I found extremely surprising because that was one of the things, and this is 0.9 per milliliter. So when you ink a pen, you better use it all up. That was one of those things when I started getting into fountain pens. I don't know if Atlas stationers already had their online presence, and there were quite a few online retailers that I did not know about or that did not exist in their presence right as they do right now. And so it was always like, where can I get most of the inks that I would like to get? Like, how can I make it so that I don't pay shipping 5 times for 5 different bottles of inks? Okuyama. And yeah, this ink, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep this ink when I bought it on a whim at the San Francisco Pen Show in 2024 at Dromgools. Oh yeah, check out Dromgools. They also have quite a huge collection of inks. When they did I think 4 inks for the price of 3. And I just went and looked what I liked. This one spoke to me, so I got it. And then I put it in a pen and I wasn't super impressed, but I love the swatches. And I think do I have it in a pen right now? No, I don't. Yeah, that's one of those things, man. The more ink bottles you have, the harder it is to get them into pens. And one of the things that I wanted to get through when I'm doing this is this really still an ink bottle that I would like to keep in my collection? Is it speaking to me? And I do have one. I identified one here earlier, just now. And you might guess. Put it in the comments down below. Put the minutes before I reveal what it is, which one I don't like, which doesn't speak to me. It's not that I don't like it, but it's definitely one that I am not drawn to put into a pen anytime soon. Whereas with the others, to be honest, I really want to see how they perform in a pen, which is definitely something to consider as well. Like, which ones of those would you want in a pen? And if you're not really drawn to putting the ink in a pen, then maybe it's time to let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And that is, I will tell you when I'm done with this one, because I can build tension. Not really. Maybe you already know. And I'm really curious to know if you got it right. Taccia. This is almost purple, more purple than it is red. So this has a weird long name. And I'm just going to copy this. This one is also available from Atlas. This comes in a 40 milliliter bottle. I think so, yes. And it is $25. And so it is 0.62 per milliliter. Yeah, this is hitting hard, man. Sailor Shikiori Okuyama is expensive per milliliter, so you need to find a pen that you like it in. Ugh. Why, friends, why? Oh, I like this. Yeah, so I'm totally inspired to put those inks into pens, man. It's so lovely, so good. Taccia. What? Super annoying here. So the paper that I'm using, why am I holding the box? I don't know. The paper that I'm using right now is the new Sanzen Tomoe River paper, and I've been mentioning this quite a bit in my videos recently. I am very impressed with the paper because I was expecting to have tremendous bleed through issues. And you can see, yes, there are some splatters for sure, but it is not as bad as I was expecting it to be. So I'm going to put this back into the view. And then this is Tsubame OK Fools paper. And I'm going to bring those back into view as well, because I find that well, it's a little different, but not that much, to be honest. It's definitely very different to Brilliant Brown from Pelikan. Diamine Deep Dark Orange is not different. Let's pull out the last three here. Old Book Smell seems to have changed a bit. Okuyama looks more closer to Lamy Sepia on this OK Fools paper. This is more red purple leaning, wine red, than it is here. And then Ancient Copper is also very similar. So what do I think? I think that I have sorted these very wisely, and I can tell you that the inks on the left side are very similar. It seems like Lamy Sepia is wetter than Ancient Copper and Diamine Cult Pens, and you can see that the writing here is much browner than it is for the Diamine inks. The swatches, especially with Ancient Copper and Lamy Sepia, are similar, but if the ink is wet, it will never look like the lighter parts of the swatch. It will pool and be this red-brown ink color, which actually reminds me a lot of Pelikan Brilliant Brown. So if you would put this ink into a very wet pen, you might have a similar writing experience with these inks. However, Brilliant Brown is drier than Lamy Sepia, so it might shade more than Lamy Sepia will be able to. And that's about it for the similarities with all of those. There is a place for this ink in my collection, especially since I just dumped most of the contents of my ancient copper ink bottle, which I think is closest specifically in the swatch. Diamine Cult Pen's Deep Dark Orange is much more red in the writing. Brilliant Brown seems to be close, not very close in the swatch. This is darker and more yellow leaning than the Lamy Sepia. However, the writing is of Pelikan Brilliant Brown, as I said earlier, reminds me of Lamy Sepia. And this is basically where the similarities of the inks stop. Robert Oster Old Book Smell is much redder, lighter. Sailor Shikiori Okuyama is this vibrant, dark wine red that leans pink. Velvet. It reminds me of like, yeah, a velvet curtain or something. And then Taccia Ume Murasaki might be similar in the swatch, in the tiny OK Fools swatch, but it is not at all on the paper. It is much, if I'm looking here through the camera viewfinder, I can see it looks very dark, almost brown leaning purple. This is not what I see when I look around my camera. I have more pink in here. It's a light pinkish purple gray with some really lovely undertones. These two are very complex in their colors, which the other ones don't seem to be much. The other thing that I'm finding here is sometimes some inks have this gray hue in their swatches. None of these have that. However, Pelikan Brilliant Brown as well as Robert Oster Old Book Smell do. Okay, long video, short story. This is the ink that I will be destashing for sure. I am absolutely not drawn to this ink, and I don't think, looking at all the ink bottles that I own, that I have to keep this because it fills any gaps. If it doesn't speak to me, there's no reason, no sense in keeping it. Alrighty, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun after I got the hang of what I want it to look like. I hope the next videos aren't as tumbly as this one was. I hope to see you again soon. Until then, bye. So this Brilliant Brown story does not leave me, and I want to see what this looks like when I put this on here right now. Is this going to be the same color and it's just so different on the different papers? Yeah. So this is 20, 25. When I look at it, it might be darker, but it's also still wet, and it could just be that I am seeing things wrong.